being called controversial. How can I convince you when your ears refuse to hear? You turn your heart away from me each time when I've gone near. Your eyes refuse to meet with mine, they glance away in fear. Now, keep in mind that some of my guests have been approached by Homeland Security or FBI saying, why are you going on the Clay Douglas show? My message to those guys, if they're listening this morning, is go get a cup of coffee. Maybe you'll learn something. We both took the same oath to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I don't recall there being an expiration date on that. Well, it doesn't show. How can I explain the thing that says the same? Knowing that your eyes are blinded by the light. He is the free American, Clay Douglas. That's the Free American, weekdays at 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Eastern. Every time I think about the damage that's been done, the anger wells inside me till I'm almost overcome. I want to tear the moon down from the sky and drop the sun. For the podcast and more details, visit www.freeamericans.com or catch the podcast by phone by calling 832-999-8621.
All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the Free American. I am your host. I am Clay Douglas. And my guest today is supposed to be Will Spencer if he's awake.
Can you hear me?
Almost.
All right. How you doing, Clay?
I'm doing pretty good. Will, how about you?
Oh, not too bad. Up and about. Signal a little bit technically challenged this morning, a little bit on the road, but hopefully we'll continue to have a good signal here. Thanks for having me on.
I appreciate you coming on. You were just back in my old town of Albuquerque, and you did get to meet with Paul Pantone, didn't you?
Yeah, I spent the better part of a day sitting at his kitchen table and discussing things, and man, that guy's just full of stuff. I'm so glad that this knowledge hasn't completely disappeared, especially about the sustainability and how to conduct ourselves outside of the corporation. Paul is just a wealth of knowledge in that regard.
He is pretty incredible. I met him over 20 years ago. I was just launching one of my first magazines, actually about the second or third magazine, called High Country, High Adventure for Today's Cowboy. And I met Paul, and we put his little 5-horsepower Briggs & Stratton motor with a GEAT device on it in the back of my Bronco and took it around to gas stations to demonstrate that we could, hey, you got any waste oil here? You got some old oil you drained out of here? Let's see if we can pour it in this gas tank, see if it'll run, this engine will run on it. And of course it did. And he's come a long ways too, and been through a lot. They simply didn't like me, didn't like Paul, didn't like anything that we were doing, and tried to stop us. They kept him in a insane asylum or mental institution for over 3 years.
Yeah, that's amazing what they did to that guy with in the system that's supposed to be there to, well, it's supposed to be there to hold up the illusion that there is a system that works, really. But they terrorized that man for 3.5 years. That's horrible. I mean, that's the system we live in. That's a system that I know we live in, and I'm sure you do too.
Yes, yes. Matter of fact, you know, today I'm supposed to be doing something. I started work on it. I've been asked to do a timeline for everything that's happened to me and what I've been doing and what I've been trying to do. And that goes back a long time. I mean, it's you know, going back from the time I joined the Army, got out of the Army, didn't go to Vietnam, and today it's still kind of freaks me out to go up to the Vietnam Veterans Wall in Washington. I only get emotional in two places on earth. The Vietnam Vet Wall, and I know if I'd gone there, my name would have been on that. My name would have been there, but it wasn't, and somehow I feel like sometimes I feel like it should have been. But that and the Alamo, I still remember the Alamo. So it's you know, when I was thinking of this timeline and thinking of it yesterday or last night when I went to bed, and trying to figure out how to do it or how to structure it, because and the more I got to thinking about it, 45 years ago I wrote a book. I wrote novels or short stories that were so far out, I couldn't even get them published. Publishers wouldn't look at them. And I wrote books about marijuana being legal, victimless crimes being abolished, and that was simply beyond comprehension 45 years ago when marijuana was potentially a life sentence in Texas. 99 years. And today, somebody else suggested I have on the editor of High Times, who was just on MSNBC, and I said, well, I can, you know, yeah, I'll contact him, I'll get a hold of him, but in one of my first magazines, I welcomed High Times to the paraphernalia industry. I'd already started the head shops in Texas. I'd already gone to prison for having a little bit of pot in Texas. And I helped start I was the first distributor for High Times in Texas. Andy Cowell was the editor. He and I became friends. And I was just sitting thinking about that. Well, I'll have to put that on my timeline, I guess. I'll have to do that. But the more I thought about it, I've kind of been ahead of the game, at the head of the pack, for 45 years. What I wrote about is happening today. It's and then of course I started the militias, and today the militias are expanding and growing, and people are starting to realize that's just the American people. It ain't no terrorist group. It's the American people. So it's Yeah, there's a lot of introspection going on, a lot of things going on in my head here. Everything that that I tried to do a long time ago is happening now. It's and it's the realization is there that I never did anything wrong. I was just ahead of my time, and I think the same thing is happening right now with the whole Liberty Village concept. And Hal, you were a part of that too. I mean, you were. If we'd been able to do, if I'd been able to do what I wanted to do there, right there in Bingham, we would have had 10 people living there. We would have had an RV park there. We would have had the goats. We would have had the chickens. If we had the goats, we had the chickens, didn't we?
Yeah, we did for a while, didn't we? That was back over a decade ago.
A decade ago, and that may have been. The more I think about it, that may have been why they tried to kill me, because they didn't want to see Liberty Villages around the country. I mean, right now, it's kind of strange, the whole idea of marijuana being illegal when it was our number one cash crop in America, that still freaks me out. I mean, you could pay your taxes with hemp. Our Constitution was written on hemp paper. Benjamin Franklin's paper was written on hemp paper. The Encyclopedia Britannica was printed on hemp paper for 100 years. On the back of the 1914 $10 bill, guess what they got? Picture of a hemp field. And today, we got people being threatened by law enforcement for growing a friggin' tomato. So
something wrong with that, isn't there?
There is definitely something wrong with it. And the work that you're doing is very important because, I am fond of quoting our founding fathers, Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin. Benjamin Franklin, he said, democracy is two wolves and a sheep voting on what's for dinner. And Thomas Jefferson said, if you ever allow a private bank to issue your money, the banks and the corporations that spring up around them will leave your children homeless in the land we conquered. And for my show today, with featuring Will Spencer, the bodyelectrician.com, I got one quote there from my show a couple of days ago that says, we can conclude we are all spiritual beings having a human experience. And right below that, I've got a quote from your book saying we live in a world run by corporations, corporate machines with little or no regard for natural organic existence, methodically serving their own agendas, have systematically and adversely impacted the quality of life on the whole planet Earth. The food chain has been severely deficient of minerals for over 100 years. The natural balance of beneficial microorganisms is destroyed. The understanding of what constitutes a healthy diet has long been corrupted, along with the innate wisdom of the body to know what is good. And when I started the Free American 20 years ago, I had a tape that I distributed called Dead Doctors Don't Lie. And that was Dr. Eli Wallach, and he was a veterinarian, I believe, but he said, we need these minerals. We need their minerals, and the whatever it was that he produced, I called it dinosaur dung. It tasted horrible, but in that in that period of time until they tried to kill me, I promoted that information, and I got a biochemist to design something that contained fulvic acid. And she said she had to get the material from prehistoric plant life because the plants that we produce now, the food that we produce now, doesn't have the essential vitamins in it and the essential minerals in it that we need, and fulvic acid would heal cellular damage. And somewhere on my site there, I've got a whole article about this whole fulvic acid. Kind of interesting because I think the one plant that can reach down deep enough to get that fulvic acid, produce that fulvic acid, is illegal here in this country. Everywhere except Colorado. It's called hemp. And I've also got in my hand here 70 plus phytogenic plant minerals, bioavailable through a natural negative electrical charge that enhances chelation of heavy metals and toxins. This is earthborn, this is your product. And I've been taking it religiously since I had a scan, since you did a scan on me. And we could talk about that. Yeah, I mean, it's, I mention on my show a lot of times that my mother and grandmother were drug addicts. They went to the doctor every week, every other week, took me along with them. I sat in the waiting room reading magazines while they went in to get their prescriptions. And I thought my grandmother was just old and feeble. I mean, I didn't realize what was wrong with her until I took one of her little red sleeping pills. Whew! Granny! Oh, no wonder you've been stumbling around here.
Narcotics on that.
Yes. Yes, Seconal. Seconal was what she was hooked on.
Yeah. Very common nowadays.
And my mother was on pain pills. She hurt her back sometime, and the doctor gave her a pain pill. And, you know, I've been in a motorcycle accident, had a Harley rolled over me 3 times. But, well, I don't have a single ache or pain. My little toe hurts sometime. That may be, but that's about it. I was almost afraid to work with you on this regime that you got me on, because I generally don't. You know, there's very little that's ever wrong with me. Matter of fact, you know, I was kind of excited when we passed medical marijuana in Arizona. I thought, wow, maybe this year I won't be a criminal. First time in 45 years. But didn't work. Didn't work for me because turns out I was too healthy to qualify for medical marijuana. I said, well, you asshole, you know, the reason I'm so healthy is I've been smoking it for 45 years. But, and you know, I've interviewed a gentleman that's probably in hiding in Yugoslavia right now. He was from Canada, did Phoenix Tears, and cured cancer with hemp oil, or hash oil, I guess you'd call it. What about that? I mean, you know, this, again, I've been trying to formulate this timeline, and what I went to prison for 45 years ago is now appearing in mainstream news. It's now appearing in the whole state of Colorado. You can smoke it, you can grow it, you can do what you want with it. I wrote a novel about that being happening in 45 states, so we've taken a step in that direction. I'm going to shut up and let you talk now. You're the body electrician. You're the one that read my scan, I mean, and this scanning device you got's really interesting because from over 1,000 miles away, you can tell if anything's wrong with me. You can tell what I need, and you sent me what I need. And I got to tell you, I love your sea salt. I eat it like candy. I eat it like candy. I put it on my thumb, and I don't need the tequila to enjoy it.
Salt's a very important element and used to be traded like people would, look at gold and silver today. It was actually a highly prized commodity before the globalization that's taken place the last, 100 years. There was actually a salt trade. Salt, what's that phrase about it's worth your weight in salt? I was importing salt from the Celtic regions, which would be around the Mediterranean, around from Europe, until we just happened to run an analysis on the salt and found out that the majority of the salt content, because of the loose labeling laws, was actually heavy metals like the aluminum, the arsenic, the fluorine. Was actually heavy metals from the industrial sector. So I quit buying salt from Europe around the Mediterranean, and I went on a little venture and found this salt from El Salvador. And it's the cleanest salt if you want to look at there's no industrial heavy metals or radioactive isotopes at all in that salt. And we actually have several different salts in the database, and our salt always comes to the top. I've never had anybody's salt show up that it would benefit the human body any better. So that salt is extremely beneficial for our neurotransmitter production, hormone production, digestion. It keeps us, it helps to regulate our pH. It helps to chelate. Very important, as well as those minerals, the 70 plus phytogenic minerals. We've come a long way. There's really no taste. It is a little gritty in the capsule form if you don't swallow it right away. There's virtually no taste. It looks like muddy water. And I refuse to use any coloring agents or flavor enhancers or anything. So you get it natural when you get it from us. And there virtually is no flavor to it. Only had a couple of people ever complain, and that was because they couldn't get over the emotional impact of drinking what they call pond water. But the benefits of that, those minerals, not only in salt form but in the colloid form, are paramount to our health. And our food or food-like substances of today is virtually free of minerals. If you want to look at it from that point, they're deficient. We've done some studies. This was back in 2007, I believe. Maybe it was 2008. But the best organic food we could buy has less than 20 different minerals. And the cheap food, like at Walmart, has less than 15 minerals in it. And it's pretty much a known fact in at least the scientific community that I'm in, that we need a minimum of 60 different minerals every day in our diet. So if the best organic food you can buy in the store has 20 or less, and we need 60 or more, I would say that's a very big gap to fill. And there is a lot of problems associated with just mineral deficiency in our diet. Lots. And I've spent a long time, like the first 20 years of my life, I was extremely ill. And here I can share my book. I published my first book this last year. And you can get it on my website, bodyelectrician.com. Because of that first 20 years of my life being ill, a friend introduced me to herbs and gave me a glass of this herbal tea. And my asthma went away in an hour. And that set me down this path that I'm on today, and I've been ever since looking at alternatives. And now, because of the poor state of affairs that this country is in and being run by corporate interests, and that includes medicine, and that also includes the alternate medicine sector, the natural health sector, we have to now have, being a health provider, if you want to look at it with using those terms, someone who helps people with their health, not with their disease. We've actually had to protect ourselves from the corporation. There's a large body of alternate healthcare providers, mostly from the medical community, that have left the AMA and have now joined what I'm a member of, called the PMA, Pastoral Medical Association, which is an international body of healthcare providers that are now protected under international treaty, ecclesiastical law, so we can actually help people heal from disease, heal from mineral deficiency, and have protection. We actually have a team of lawyers and attorneys that we pay every month to protect us from the United States Corporation, from the American Medical Association Corporation, and all of its other fraudulent corporate terrorists. We'll call it what they are. So we, those in the healing arts, are able to help people using herbs, using minerals, using natural elements, using some technology like we use our hand scanning device, which is, it's old technology. I mean, really, it was produced before I was around, 1950, 1954, I believe, when they, it's actually based on lie detector technology. We have right close to 30,000 different stressors is what we call it, but 30,000 different things in our database: parasites, pathogens, viruses, bacteria, funguses, heavy metals, petrochemicals, biological warfare agents, chemical warfare agents, mutated strains of bacteria and viruses. For instance, we have all 87 different mutated bacterial strains associated with Lyme disease. And see, here's the difference between our technology looking based on frequency and the current medical testing. The current medical testing pulls your blood, lots of vials of blood. They put the blood in petri dishes or in different environments inside their laboratories, and they wait for the microorganisms to populate or grow or colonize. And then they look under their microscopes to see the colonies, because you can actually see and identify the colonies of pathogens by their shape, their size, their color, so forth, and how their colonies form different shapes. But see, here's the problem with that kind of thinking. Most of the bacteria, viruses, funguses, and parasites don't live in the blood. They live in the soft tissue, the mucosal lining in your lungs or in your sinus cavity or in your digestive tract. They don't live in the blood. That's why allopathic testing or blood testing, even in the natural health blood testing, is only about 15 to 20% accurate at best. So if you was a gambling man or a woman, would you take 15%? How about 20%? Would you even waste your time on 20% odds? I mean, when you're looking for the specific frequency of the metal, for instance, uranium-235 or 236 or thulium or cesium, when you know the exact harmonic resonance that that particular metal or that particular parasite or that particular genetic expression vibrates at, and you are able to see what's going on, you're able to do something about it. That's what I didn't like when my mom used to take me to the doctor. They'd pull vials of blood, they'd have me urinate in a bottle, and then they would come back and they would talk their talk, and I'm going, but Mom, I don't feel like this. This does not sound right. And I'm a kid in my teen years listening to these highly educated people with white coats and stethoscopes tell me things that basically did not resonate with me. They were telling my mom stories because when you have an American Medical Association license, it's okay to tell stories to your customers because the law or their corporate charter says it's okay. And now, today, the stories continue like cancer. We have every known cancer frequency in our database, every one. We're also able to tell if there's a mutation and pick up the mutation with the cancer. And I can tell you, looking at thousands of scans over these last years doing this, we hardly ever see cancer. It's almost always a bacteria or a virus coupled with some fungus. Always. I can promise you that. I've got file cabinet drawers full of data to back up what I'm saying. Plus, a friend of mine, and you've had him on your show too, Patrick Jordan, author of ICD 999 vaccine-induced diseases, has found in the medical literature back in the 70s called the Cancer Virus Program that they've been creating cancer for a solid 50 years now. This whole cancer, I'm going to call it what it is, a cancer industry. That it's viral-based. It has nothing to do with the actual cancer cells themselves. They have been engineering the viruses and the whole industry. That's why they can pull a blood test and see if you have cancer or not, because they're not looking for the cancer. They're looking for the viruses or the bacteria that are always there with prior to the cancer. Because cancer is actually part of the healing process. Don't take my word for it. You can check out German New Medicine. Dr. Hamer. Dr. Hamer's not allowed in this country. He's from Germany, Austria. He is outlawed from coming to this country because of his cancer research information. And I am totally aligned with his information. I find it real. I find it valid. I validate his stuff with what we find. That cancer is the end product of a healing event that was sparked by an emotional trauma. Always. Okay, so not only is there mineral deficiencies associated with cancer, there's not only viruses, bacteria, and fungus associated with cancer, but the main root of cancer is an emotional disease, if you want to use the word disease. It's an emotional thing, emotional event. It starts out with an emotional trauma of some kind, and he actually, Dr. Hamer, actually could trace in the brain back to and figure out the emotional upset or the emotional trauma that took place to make the cancer happen. So in this country, or I should say in the industrialized world where Western medicine is pushed like a drug, like a pathogen on the world, this idea that cancer is a bad thing is so foreign and so not natural and against nature. It should be a sin to even diagnose anybody with cancer because it's never cancer. I got this from a 27-year medical doctor, licensed oncologist in Pennsylvania. I got to sit in her clinic because she was actually looking at using our scanning technology in her clinic. And got to ask her some questions, and I asked her, I said, how come we're never finding cancer? We're always finding these pathogens. And she said, straight-faced, didn't even think about it. She says, oh, we don't have to actually find cancer cells to give you a cancer stage 1, 2, 3, 4 diagnosis. All we have to do is find the associated markers or the pathogens. Then we can give you the cancer diagnosis, because we know if you have these pathogens, you'll for sure have cancer someday. Mama, how fraudulent is that? That should be criminal, in my opinion.
What about Brzezinski down there in Houston? I mean, he's been curing people with incurable cancers, and they've tried to shut him down too.
Now, see, they try to shut him down because he has a medical license that he has bought from the American Medical Association, you see. I have friends that used to have those AMA licenses, whether they're in a chiropractor or actually have a family member that was a surgeon, that they were doing the same thing with their people in their hospital that they were working for underneath that American medical license. And because you hold their license, you have to follow their rules. Well, my license is from the Pastoral Medical Association, and we have a different set of rules. Our rules say we can help people using herbs, natural remedies, things from the earth. We are outlawed by our charter, our rules, to use any chemical, any pharmaceutical, or surgery. We can't use any of that stuff because it's unnatural, it's unhealthy, and it has an extremely high toxic load to the body.
You know, I've still got, Will, I've still got my tonsils, I've still got my appendix, and at 67 years old, you know, I can still kick a 24-year-old's ass.
I'm sure you could, because I know you were pumping weights 10 years ago when we lived with you down there in Bingham. Here's a story I want to read. This is just new. Okay?
Go right ahead, sir.
It says millions falsely treated for cancer. That's the title. And that's put out by this comes from the National Cancer Institute report. Millions falsely treated for cancer. Okay, and the National Cancer Institute is putting this report out. I would say that serpent wrapped around the spear that they use for their logo is actually starting to eat its tail now. The science is unmistakable that we have today that chemotherapy and radiation cause cancer. That's part of the report. The report is saying that the archaic 1920 thinking of using chemotherapy, which is chemical therapy, which is putting chemicals in the body and then radiating the body like putting your arm in the microwave, whether it's using a radioactive element in a pill form, in injection form, or actually putting your tit in a ringer, or using tattoo forms of radiation, that these things actually cause cancer. The criminals, those that are holding American Medical Association licenses and that have given up 9 to 10 years of their life to be brainwashed in this industrial, medical, military occupation and thinking, the science is proving today, and this isn't new science, I mean, I knew about this 20 years ago, that their methods actually cause cancer. Their methods actually cause diverticulitis, irritable bowel, rheumatoid arthritis. I mean, it's proven if you get a colonoscopy, you're going to get cancer if you don't do anything else.
One of my people in my chat room, Will, is asking, and wants me to ask you if you believe this is an archon parasite entities. Do you believe this is archine parasite entities? Now the archines are pretty much out of old biblical text, I think. But do you know what he's asking you about?
I know, and hopefully he's a listener to some of our other shows, or she is, because I'm pretty much aligned with the thinking, using the word archon as a foreign consciousness, pathogenic beast that pretty much overtakes the human body like a parasite, a parasitic pathogen, if you want to look at it that way. I do. Frankly, because I know for a fact that pathogens and parasites create neurotransmitters and neurological pathways that override the human thinking, the human chemicals, the human neurotransmitters, and get the human host to do things that are detrimental to the human host, but beneficial for the pathogen and parasitic entities or colonies. For instance, when you have a fungal infection, which is systemic, I'm saying it's systemic on the planet, fungal and bacterial infections actually get to a point where they get you to crave things to eat that benefit them and harm you, the human host. So I'm aligned with that, absolutely. I've done hours and hours of shows. I actually am a host on World Spirit Radio here every Monday and Wednesday and do shows, so you can check that out too. And we talk about things like this, how the pathogen and its consciousness, when it gets to a large level, can actually pretty much remote control the human to do whatever it wants, for the most part.
You know, you've touched up on a couple of things here that I'd like to expand upon. You know, the what you're describing with the hand scanner that you let me use. That seems to me to be right in line with Royal Raymond Rife technology, which has been suppressed, hasn't it?
Oh yeah, and part of what we do, it is based on Royal Rife's technology, where Royal Rife was able to identify organisms by sight with his scope, and then identify their resonant harmonic frequency, and then with using frequencies, actually can bring back balance with frequencies. And that is part of what we do. That is built into the scanning device, that technology, not only for looking at and finding what's wrong, and here I cannot use the word diagnose because that's a medical term and I'm not licensed to use that word, so I'm just letting you know that. I'm refraining from using certain words because they have patents, copyrights, and licensures to using certain words. Diagnosing is one of them, and curing is another one. So we're looking to see what's going on in the body, frequency-wise, and then our protocols being based on frequencies are then created based on what we find to get the body to heal. So we're feeding the body frequencies to heal on several different levels. Frequencies as in electrical energy frequencies, also homeopathic frequencies in some of the supplements that we use, or what we like to call now essentials, because our products aren't supplementary. Our products are essential to life. They are not supplementary to life. They are essential for life, because the stuff that we have in our products that we recommend, you cannot get in the food chain anymore. They're gone.
The other thing, we're talking about these archons. These are pathogens. You know, maybe the whole lot of the our history, the talking about succubuses and vampires and these pathogens. These now I've heard about and read about some people that were curing breast cancer with something as simple as baking soda because it was killing the fungus. It was actually a fungus. And the when you mention these archons, what came into my mind is part of the tactics. Now, what you've described here is basically the doctors and the pharmaceutical industries, the whole AMA bullshit is they want you to be afraid. Be afraid. Be very, very afraid. And when that fear strikes you, there goes your immune system. You know, people used to ask me, well, Clay, aren't you afraid to ride now? Aren't you afraid to get back on a motorcycle now? my answer is, you ever trip, you're afraid to fucking walk? No, I'm not afraid to ride a motorcycle. No, I'm not afraid to, I do it every day. Every day. No, I'm not afraid. And I'm healthy. I'm healthy. I mean, it's this fear that they generate, that the Alex Jones out there try to generate, be afraid of the New World Order. They don't have the power they want you to believe they have with their programming systems, their television, their mind control programs. They don't have that. If they did, we'd still be under the Syrian Empire, we'd still be under the Roman Empire, we'd still be under the British Empire. Actually, we may still be under the British Empire, but the fear that the medical system generates, and remember, it's the programming. I mean, the every other commercial on the Super Bowl was for some medication to treat some disease that I never heard of. And the first half of the commercial gave you all the contraindications. You know, well, this could kill you, but you need to get it. You need to check with your doctor. You need to get it. It could cause sterility. It could cause insanity. It could cause Alzheimer's. It could cause all this stuff. But you need to buy it anyway. You need to. Why would anybody? I mean, there must be something here. There must be something that I can't see that would let any sane human being go out and go to their doctor, pay their doctor to write them a prescription that they don't know what is in it, to give them a vaccination that they don't know what's in it, for a disease that we never heard of.
You mentioned a key word, sane, in your dialogue there.
What was the key word?
Sane. Okay, any sane human. Okay, so here's the problem, and this is my opinion now, expressing my opinion. So here's my viewpoint. When you go to public education, it's not education, it's actually the programming to put and instill the base program for you to be afraid of your teacher, to be afraid of the cop that's walking with his billy club through the hallway, to be afraid and follow orders. And if you don't, what happens if you don't follow orders in school? You get sent down to solitary confinement with a little room outside the principal's office. And then you have 500 kids, knowing that you were disobedient, harass you, terrorize you into compliance. And then you go from public education to the college. Most people go to college. So we have this whole industrial system of education, of programming, of actually deprogramming the innocence out of you, and to reprogram you to be a good slave work unit, and to be, part of the industrial fodder to keep the illusion of this corporate system continuing on. And then we're programmed. I tell you what, I spent a lot of time in contemplation 25 years ago because I knew what was going on in my body. I could feel it. I knew that these people in the medical system were telling me things, doing things, giving me injections and pills that made me feel bad, worse. And they were calling it medicine. There's a book everyone should read. It's called Virus of the Mind by Richard Brody. He lays out this thinking virus, this virus that is a pathogenic energy entity that overtakes you and actually hijacks you so you can't think. It's literally real. It's not a biological parasite or pathogen. This is a way of thinking. I call it the industrial mind. Because when you don't go to the industrial education system, you don't think this way. I have the distinct privilege to say that I quit high school, actually my senior year. I couldn't take it. I quit. I had a very negative public education career.
You made it further than I did.
What was that, Clay?
You made it further than I did. I got transferred. My mother moved, got another house outside of our neighborhood where I'd gone to school. Now, keep in mind, I was a straight A student at S.S. Dello Elementary School at William James Junior High School. I was a straight A student my whole life. And suddenly I moved to the Forest Oak District, and I had a job, I had a motorcycle, and I was sitting in class doing my math homework. I was sitting in my English class doing my math homework, and the teacher came up and said, "What are you doing?" I said, "My homework." That looks like math. And I said, "It is. I'm doing my math homework." "Well, you're supposed to be reading a story." I read it. "Well, you're supposed to answer the questions at the end of it." "Here." Well, read the next one." I said, "Lady, look, I read the whole damn book. I've got the answers to every question right here in my notebook. I work after school. This is where I do my math homework. Leave me alone." So she dragged me to the principal's office. Vice principal. And I still even remember his name. Not bad for a head injury patient, huh? His name was Charles Manderville. He said, I got to give you licks. And I said, "For what? Doing my math homework? Doing my homework ahead of time? What are you going to give me licks for?" "You said, damn." I said, "Well, you know what? Nobody's ever hit me. I don't think you're going to be the first. You try to hit me with that little paddle with the holes drilled in it so you can get a good swing. I'm going to take that paddle away from you and jam it up your ass." And so I got kicked out of school. And the next day I was walking down to get some lunch, and I was walking down the street in front of the school, and some teacher came out and grabbed me and wanted to take me back to that vice principal. I said, "No, I'm not going back there." "Well, what are you doing out here?" I said, "I'm walking down the street, lady." "Well, you're not supposed to be in school." I said, "I've been expelled." I said, "Now go away and leave me alone. You're not supposed to be on the school grounds when you've been expelled." And I said, "If you'll notice, lady, we're in the middle of the street. You know, maybe you ought to run down there and catch that car. He's going down the middle of your school grounds." "Well, I'm taking you. No, you're not taking me anywhere. Get the hell away from me." And I never went back to school. I never went back to school. Well, I did have one small thing, and I went to another school, walked into a class and sat down, and the teacher said, "Well, son, we're taking a test today, but you don't have to take it because you just got here. I said, no, I don't want any special privilege. I'll take the test. And after that test, the lady said, the teacher got up, class, I am so disappointed in you. There's only one person that made 100 on this test, and it's this young man here who never even studied with you. I'm really disappointed at you. And I stood up and I said, lady, you're out of your fucking mind. And I walked out. I said, if I ever had a chance to make it in this school, you just fucked it up. And I walked away and I never went back. And I am working on my master's degree right now, so maybe next year, this time next year, you can call me Dr. Douglas. But this is the programming they give you. This is what they try to do. This is the intimidation. This is why I helped start the Little Red Schoolhouse in Timothy Bible College. This is why I'm the political science director of Timothy Bible College. And this is why I'm working with a number of people to change things, because it's all about control. It's all about programming. They want you to be afraid. Be very, very afraid. So you'll get sick. Doctors don't make money off of you if you're well, do they?
Not in the corporate medicine, they don't.
This is
not even in the natural health world.
You have it right, and the programming doesn't even stop if you wake up. We've got some so-called talk show host that used to be a doctor, and they came off. They wouldn't come on my show anymore. Why? Because I have your book on my website. I have your book on my website, and so this former medical doctor who tries to put out some of the same information about the vaccines wouldn't come on my show anymore. Why? Why was this? Why would they do this? I mean, that's like a Jew coming up and going, well, you can't read the protocols of the elders of Zion. Don't you know that's a forgery? Don't you know that's a forgery? Yeah, what's a forgery? Oh yeah, that's an exact copy of the original. What does it matter who wrote it? They're dead. 200 years ago it was written. They're dead. Why would a doctor, so-called ex-doctor, have that kind of attitude? Just not able to shake the programming that she got in medical school?
Oh, it's deeper than that. I can share a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Go ahead, share it, Will. If you don't, I will.
I'd love to do that. I mean, this is somebody I had on my show, and it was just, first of all, nobody ever tells me who I can have on or who I can't. Nobody. You know, you can't control. That's what happened with Dr. another doctor, Dr. Lynn Horowitz. You know, I'm really disappointed in you, Glenn. I'm disappointed in you, Glenn. Me? What are you disappointed in me for? I said, trying to control what I publish. You know, nobody can control what I publish, what I say, what I think. Nobody can do that. And this person I'm talking about is Dr. Rebecca Carley. I don't mind calling names. I don't mind pointing out who's doing this. I just don't understand why. I mean, I know why Lynn Horowitz did it. First of all, you know, I'm a doctor. You're a fucking dentist. I know what you are. You know, why are you trying to control what I publish? But go ahead. I'd like to know the reasoning behind this. I mean, I didn't when I had her on my show, I didn't have anything against what she was saying about the vaccines.
Here's the political mumbo jumbo, the political side of the alternate media. It's no different than in the mainstream media or in allopathic health. It's all politics. And it comes down to dollars, really. Okay, so I do a show twice a week, well, most of the time, when we have a signal, with Patrick Jordan. Patrick Jordan used to be doing the shows with Carly, until one day Patrick come to the same conclusion I did with our research, that colloidal silver, the colloidal silver that is made with by electrolyzing silver metal and suspending the silver metal ions in water, Patrick asked some questions about its toxicity levels. And being the number one funder of Carly's information or shows is generated by selling silver water.
Okay. What
it's
about?
Also a great internal antibiotic. It kills everything. What was that, Clay?
Yeah, the colloidal silver. Now, our ancestors used to put silver in the bottom of their water barrels when they were coming across the desert or the country to purify the water. But what does the colloidal silver? I mean, this is a part of a patriot mythology, and I mean, I have used that on a cut or something like that, but I don't take it internally.
I don't recommend anybody taking it internally. The science is junk. I see silver showing up on people's scans all the time that have taken it internally. It's a heavy metal. You're using electricity to release the silver metal ion out of silver metal and suspend it in water. And then when you take it internally, it causes problems. The long-term effect of it. It's a short-term benefit, absolutely. It's a good bandage. In emergencies, internally, yes, I don't encourage anybody to take it internally. I could talk for a long time, and Patrick and I have talked for long times on my show, expressing and sharing the detrimental effects of ingesting it. It works great on the outside. Antibiotic. I mean, it stops fungal growth, bacterial growth. It helps the skin to heal and regrow because it's an antimicrobial. But when you take it internally, 80% of our immune system is the microorganisms that live in us. And when you're taking silver, you're killing. You might as well take an amoxicillin or a penicillin or some other antibiotic. Anyways, it also does a lot to the electrical system. It distorts your neurotransmitter function. It short-circuits your electrical system. There's a whole host of things it does negatively. But back to the point here is, why would somebody complain to you that you're selling my book on your website? Who really gives a care? Well, when there's money at stake, and when your God is money, and you are scared because you aren't willing to speak the truth, only speak that which makes you money, you will do things which is contrary to the conscious. You will do things like complain to you that you're selling my book just because of my association with somebody who is deemed a heretic, for telling the truth, for revealing the detrimental effects of your cash cow. That's exactly why you're being stalked, if you will, terrorized for selling my book because of my association to the truth.
I've known you for almost 20 years, and I just don't terrorize. And by the way, I can't be hypnotized either, and so I'm pretty immune to propaganda.
That's part of the benefit of coming out from among that industrial education system and allowing your mind to be opened to the other information out there that's contrary to your programming or your education. If you want to look at it either way, it's all programming. When you open the mind and accept information for just information, and then you have an internal compass, an internal consciousness that you're able to use to determine whether that information is valuable to you or not. That capacity of the human being today is virtually a dinosaur. There's very, very few of them left.
I gotta tell you, I gotta stop you for just a second, because I was just thinking of that. I was just thinking of a dinosaur. You know, we're told by science they lived millions of years ago. So who were the where were the cavemen that drew the pictures of the dinosaurs on the cave walls a few thousand years ago? Where did they get the vision of those dinosaurs? I was just thinking of that. That we've just the whole education system. Well, this is the way we want you to think. This is the way we want you to believe. No, look, I'm from Texas, man. I've seen the human footprints right beside the dinosaur footprints over there in Glen Rose. I've been there. I've seen that. So don't try to tell me that you know, this is the way things are, when I know, and common sense tells me it ain't that way. I was just thinking of that. I mean, the fact that you brought up the word dinosaur just kind of illustrates that we are put together. We can communicate on a non-verbal level here.
I used to have thoughts when I was young, and I would talk to my grandma. I'm talking, I was young, 3, 4, 5 years old. And I'm so thankful that my grandmother never shut me down. She always encouraged me to share with her my thoughts. And kids of today don't have that advantage. I encouraged my kids. I mean, my daughter, who is 15 now, my oldest daughter, she used to say to me all the time when she was this little, I'm talking, you know, in cloth diapers running around the farm. She says, "Dad, you sure look blue today," or "Dad, you sure look yellow today." She goes, "Are you feeling okay?" This is coming from a little kid in diapers running around. How did she know that? Well, later on, when her understanding got more, so we could communicate back and forth with language, she would tell me how she feels and how she could see colors around me or in me or on me. She could feel things. And that capacity we all have, but you see this industrial, military, the sick system that we live with, that we're forced into because of terrorism, stops that capacity of our humanness. And when you encourage that, like you, I mean, I remember you were telling me one time, this is like, 11 years ago now, how you learned to read was your grandma used to read comic books to you, or some woman in your life when you were a kid, you used to read comic books, and pretty soon you started to read the comic books without even being taught the language.
That's right. My grandfather would simply run his finger over the words while he read them. And so I was able to put it all together. When I went in the first grade, I could read 500 words a minute. I could read at the 6th grade level in the first grade.
I was the same way. I knew how to read when I went into kindergarten. And you see, that capacity is virtually non-existent in the industrialized education system. There was a woman, the head of the public education system from back in the 50s, came out. She was in her like her 70s or something. There's a YouTube on this. You can go check this out. Don't listen to me. That it basically came out with what the whole education system is. It has nothing to do with educating you. It has everything to do with shutting your natural innate capacities down and being superimposed over them this compliant programming to be part of the system. See, Tesla, Rice, Einstein, and the contemporaries of that day, Rudolf Steiner, I mean, I could go on. There's a list, huge list. We're talking those born in the late 1800s who never were exposed to public education, were able to think, comprehend, and bring in information from the information field and make things happen. That's why, Rice, basically, the industrial system destroyed me because he was watching things. He created a device, a mechanical device, to photograph viruses and bacteria and funguses inside of viruses, bacteria, and funguses, fractalize down into the micro, into almost the nano, and videotape them while they're alive. That technology has disappeared because in today's education system, they can't even do that. They have to kill whatever they're photographing in order to photograph it. They don't even have 1930 technology anymore because they've bought it up, they've destroyed the man's life that created it, and then they have stolen the information on how to duplicate that. The Roll-Rice microscope. It was actually a piece of art. If you've ever seen one, I've seen one. It was a mechanical engineering work of art. It was a beautiful machine. And this machine, by looking at it, actually could see inside the viruses, the other viruses and bacteria, the multi-layered life system, the multi-systemed micro-life, and videotape it without killing it. You see, the medical system today is based on looking at dead stuff. If you've ever been to, and I have taken some educational classes in the medical system, and it's all based on dead things. You dissect dead frogs. You dissect dead human tissue. They never do anything on live, living, conscious organisms. It's always on the dead stuff. So it's no wonder that those that hold an American Medical Association license are basically dead. They're treating things as if they were dead because they've only studied dead things. And the whole education system is all about dead, archaic, old information that has no relevance anymore. And the new science of today that's really like 25, 30 years old, there's a little bit of a struggle going on between the new information, which is really like 30 years old, and those of us that have studied in the shamanic or pastoral natural world have just known this. And my aunt, back in the 1960s, started a spa, a spa out in the Central Valley Desert in California. She stumbled upon quicksand, talked to some of the natives, discovered the medicinal value of that hot clay that was oozing out of the earth, built a spa around it. In the 60s, she knew this. She actually created what's now called endorphin therapy today, which there's only a few of us left that even know anything about endorphin therapy, because it was never embraced by the mainstream health care. This stuff is not new, but it's being suppressed. And now we have corporate interests in the natural health world. We have exactly the same archaic dead thinking from the allopathic world now in the natural health world, which I call symptom relief or bandage thinking. You have a symptom? You take this. You have a pain? Oh, we got to kill the pain. Here, do this. When they don't look at things from a holistic, live point of view, they look at it from a separate, symptom-based thinking point of view. The natural health world is just as bad. I quit 2 natural health schools because they were basically telling me the same thing my aunt was telling me from being a nurse in her teaching practice in nursing school. Oh, you have a symptom? Oh, we need to fix that symptom. Oh, you need to take vitamin C. Oh, you need to do this. Oh, you need to take that. Well, really, why do you have that pain in the first place? Not even getting to the core. Do we have a 4-legged visitor, Clay?
No, that's the wolf. That's a wolf and wolf spirit.
Oh, that's Dave in the wolf den.
I have a caller coming in that wants to ask a question.
All right, and good. I'm glad you're here because I want you to talk. You've done the forward to Will's book, and I was just reading that today. And you know, you're probably a better spokesman than I am because there's so little wrong with me other than mental. I would like to get your testimony, but yeah, who's your caller?
Guy from Texas.
Well, hi, Guy. How are you? It's safe. It's safe today. I'm not talking about Jews today, so it's safe to be on here. Go ahead.
It doesn't matter, Clay. I still love you and I still listen to you. Hey, Will.
Yes, sir.
Hey, brother. I think I just came up with something that I'm attributing to you. It sounds like you keep attributing the word virus. How does this sound? And then please continue the conversation. It sounds like what you're describing to me is the societal chimera.
Ooh, that's a good one. I like that view. We have a system that's a chimera. That if anybody could look that up, should really check that out because that whole, I mean, that's a very, very good way of putting things. We have a parasitic chimera we call the United States Corporation and all of its different faculties. It's a parasitic. It has some of its own consciousness, but it requires us as the human being to be the host, to feed it and to keep it alive because it couldn't live separate from us. But yet it has its own consciousness. That's beautiful.
Again,
I mean,
brother,
people really...
Again,
go ahead.
It's all because of me. All of us do this. When we choose to make choices of our environments and what we listen to and the vibrational level and the frequency, and I knew from the very first time that I heard you and Pat that there's this frequency that I had to tie into. So as I heard you today, I just tied it in together with the societal chimera, which is now back to the drama of trauma and terrorism.
I like that, the drama of trauma. A poet didn't know it, huh?
Well, that's really what we have going on when I keep referring to that industrial system. but medical, military, industrial occupation on the planet. That's exactly what we have going on. And we can talk about it in different language, but in concept, in theory, it's the same thing.
Well, no,
it's a parasite.
You expanded my research level to all of society. It doesn't matter if I'm talking to a religious person. It doesn't matter if I'm talking to a political person. It doesn't matter if I'm talking to a rich person. I have now been gifted, and I'm giving it to anybody that's willing to listen. Everybody's being held by these societal chimeras.
Right.
Once we cut these psychopathic umbilical cords, kind of like what Clay, in his rough housing way, but in essence, that is it. You cut the umbilical cord of that attempted societal chimera to attack your free will choice, and in all of his way, think of how both of you are flowing on this. Please continue. This is awesome. I mean, you guys are both flowing in the sun. To me, these are societal chimeras. It's solved.
That's what Brody talks about in his book.
It's kind of like, Will, what you're doing with your machine. It's solved. It's another evaluation level. It's societal chimeras. And now we can go back to science and environment. And now we're back to also your inward emphasis on environment and what's inside of us, as well as what is outside of us.
I've been observation. Thanks for sharing it.
I appreciate it too, and give me a call, Keith, anytime. I ain't mad at you at all, and I'm not doing the Liberty Village up there around Killeen right now. I'm working on. I am expanding that idea and going to work on that idea. I'm updating the website libertyvillages.org, and I'm working with some people. We need to do this in more than one place. We need people working together. We need, and we're looking at some investment companies and other things here. I've got a number of sites up I'll be putting up for links with people that we're all just working together, and even me talking about the so-called Jews is an important part of this, because they hide behind the word Jew. They ain't Jews. They're Ashkenazis, and they hide behind them, and they use them just the same way they hide behind the Christians, behind the Hagees and the Pat Robertsons and the ones that are flying over to Israel, taking the trips over to Israel, paid for, of course.
But let me just say this then, with this new revelation. So that in time and space, not only this culture that you're describing, but people that have decided to emulate their culture, which is through money and through these systems on a global level, they are sold out and convinced that they do not have societal chimeras. So let them have their chimeras, and we need to cut the umbilical cord to their systems. But I'm not disagreeing with you.
That's it. That is really what the whole Liberty Village concept is about. I designed Liberty Village on my property there because I wanted to welcome people. I've always had people coming into my life, so don't want to put them in my extra bedroom here. Let me put them in a cabin. Let me put them in a teepee. Let me put them in a hut here, so they can see how comfortable we could be in a different type of society. And I wanted a place where I could take your grandchildren and put them on my knee and read to them and watch them run around, watch them play, watch them have fun. And it used to be, my grandfather taught me I would like to do that too. I would like to be able to teach
real quick.
my grandchildren your grandchildren. Go ahead, sir.
Let me bow out gracefully, sit by the side, and please, I don't want to interrupt anymore you and Will, but thank you for the time. But
thank you for calling in, and you got my number, so call me anytime. All right, Will, and Dave, let me bring you up because I think you were a little more beat up than I was, and I've read your introduction to Will's book, and so I really like for my audience here to hear how beneficial Will's teachings and Will's products have been for you. Can we do that?
Sure, you can do that. I go to the VA because I'm a 100% disabled vet. And I was on Plavix for 7 years. And then I started thinking, what am I taking this for? So I come in there one day and they says, oh, you have an enlarged chamber and leaky heart. We're going to put you on statin drugs. So I said, why are you going to put me on statin drugs? Well, that'll help your heart heal. I said, no, it won't. Statin drugs kill people. I said, I am not taking Plavix anymore. Why? Because one of the dangers of Plavix is causing an enlarged chamber and a leaky valve. You can take all the rest of your pharmaceutical poison and shove them where the light don't shine. But I said, did you hear me? I am not taking any of your poisons anymore. What'd you do if I told you had cancer? I said, I'll tell you, there's 3 things you're not going to do. Chemotherapy, radiation, and surgery, because they kill people, many more people than cancer does. All right, let's talk about something else called, what's that thing called I got about? Oh, I had stents put in my legs. Why? Because it treated the cause of blockage in my arteries and my veins. So they put 2 in my left leg and 2 in my right leg, and that took care of the problems. Then a year later, 2 years later, they put 2 more stents in, and 6 months later they put another stent in. Then they bypassed all that and put a cadaver artery in, which was blocked a month later. And what was that, 2 years ago, Will? 2.5 years ago?
Something like that.
So that's about the time Will come on my show in 2012, come on my network. And I've had this, what, 6 hand scans now?
5 or 6. I think it is 6. Yeah.
And I had already been taking another supplement called blue-green algae, which it works, but not as good as Will's requirements. You can't call them supplements because they're required by my body. I'm also giving my canines his requirements. And I have a big wolf that weighs 130 pounds because he's losing weight. He's got hip dysplasia. And sometimes he can walk and sometimes he drags his legs until he gets up. But I said, are you ready to go across the bridge? And he looks at me and says, no. Keep the supplements coming. I've got 4, 5 of my canines now are on his supplements because they require it. One of my sons has a dog that had cancer in his intestines. Tummy Touch and Essentials is taking care of it. It's that simple. They work. There are no side effects. And everyone should buy 2 of Will's books and give 1 to your favorite doctor who you hate the most. And challenge him, her, or whatever it is, to read it. I can't emphasize enough. I've read Will's book 3 times so far. And each time I get so much more out of it and my brain expands. And let me put it this way, they work. There are no side effects. I have friends I'm trying to get off of their miserable pharmaceutical drugs. They won't do it because they're afraid. I had
That's a hard program to get rid of, that fear program, isn't it?
Yep. I had a doctor say, well, they're going to cut your VA supplement because of your PTSD. I said, if they do, you're going to disappear. It's your choice. I don't have to take anything for my PTSD because I understand how it affects me. But believe me, it's still there. That big coyote's laying beside me just waiting for someone to really irritate me enough that we can go into action.
Well, my theory about the PTSD is that's what they call a conscience, isn't it, Dave?
Yep. That's why there's, I forget how many hundred suicides every single day of returning vets from the Middle East since 1991 because of that conscience that is irritating them, and they can't, as long as they buy into that mind virus of the corporate system. There's a conflict there, and that consciousness keeps reminding them every day of what they're doing and what they have done. So this is, we work with a lot of vets for just that reason, because that consciousness, that conscious.
You know, if they understand,
biological.
If they understand that, you know, yeah, they might have done that, yeah, they might have done things wrong, but if they come to the realization that it was wrong, and they were put in that position where they had to do that, or be killed themselves, or be put in a brig, or be put in somewhere, they were coerced into doing that, the same way we've been coerced into paying these friggin' taxes and supporting these congressmen. You know, to me, the greatest tragedy in this country is the fact that more of my brothers that did get sent to Vietnam killed themselves after they got home than were killed over there. And the same thing's happened to the Iraq vets and the Afghan vets who are guarding the opium poppy fields and then coming back over here and watching people be sent to prison because they've done a little bit of heroin or done a little bit of cocaine. Come on. That's we can make a difference, and I believe we are making a difference. I mean, when I look back and the fact that I wrote books about victimless crimes being abolished 45 years ago, I wrote books about marijuana being legal in this country, and it's happening today. It's happening today. That means somewhere along the line, something I said, something I did, reached somebody, and they reached somebody else, and we've had an effect. We've had an effect, and you're having an effect, Will.
I see it every day. When people come to us with these fake, patented diseases, and they go away just by following the simple lifestyle change, by implementing a protocol that actually works for them specifically. I mean, I know I'm doing it one life at a time. And Dave is a testimony to that. You can buy my book. There's probably a dozen more testimonies there. There's more on my website. You know, it's real. I figure that's all I can do is affect one at a time. Really. And that's what I do every day. That's my job that I have taken on here, living here.
And I know they work. I know deep down in my heart, in my mind, in my body, because my right foot, which was so sensitive to the nerves healing that I could barely walk. Now I can dance again, believe it or not.
Uh-oh, you're going to have to get a girlfriend now.
That's a forlorn hope for me. I said I've got a every time I think I got a girlfriend, I can hear the words of my former boss, guy named Worth McClure, back in Fort Worth, Texas. He ran Arthur Murray's studio, and I was a dance instructor. I became a dance instructor. So, man, I can waltz, I can tango, I can foxtrot, I can rumba, I can do it all. A little bit of Texas swing, I can do it all. And I was married to my first wife, and we stopped off we always stopped off at the bar. We closed the studio down, stop off at the bar, have a couple of drinks, and dance with some of our students. And my first wife showed up raising hell. Oh, you didn't come home, you didn't do this, you didn't. So I took her outside, made arrangements for my first divorce. And I walked back inside, and Worth McClure was sitting at the bar. I sat down beside him, picked up my drink, and my hand was shaking. I was still upset. And Worth looked over at me and said 3 words that I can hear today. 45 years later, I can still hear Worth McClure say those 3 words. Every time I break up with another so-called girlfriend or wife or something like that, I can hear Worth McClure's words. 3 words. He looked over at me and said, "See why I'm gay?" Wasn't enough to convince me to switch, but I can still hear those words. in his voice, "See why I'm gay?" But I got how many wives you got? Never mind. We won't go there. I wanted to ask you. You know, when you were living with me, when you were there in Bingham, I had wanted to put cabins out there at the time, but those were 15,000, and I found teepees. We could get teepees out there for 5,000, and I figured if you put up 10 teepees and a vacancy sign, that you could rent them out all day long. People would certainly pay 40 or 50 bucks to stay in a teepee. So, I mean, I still think it's a good plan. Love to see it happen sometime. But I was also selling Miracle 2. And Dave mentioned statin drugs. I was selling Miracle 2 soap. And also a Miracle 2 neutralizer. Now, neutralizer was a part of the Miracle 2 soap. Just didn't have the soap. And what it was an electrically charged alkaline solution, and I don't know, maybe Clayton Teddington prayed over it. I don't know what he did. You know, my friend David Koss, he taught me to spin my coffee. Just hold your hand on either side of the coffee. Maybe it's something like prayer, but it alters the flow of the electrons in it, he says. Certainly makes the coffee taste better. Makes the Coca-Cola go flat if you do it to that. So something is happening there. But I had people that ordered this neutralizer, and one of them told me, he said, you know, I was on statin drugs and I couldn't walk across the parking lot. I couldn't walk across the parking lot. And I've been taking this neutralizer, a shot of this neutralizer every day, and I walked around the whole block telling everybody about it. I wanted to ask you, what was that? What was Clayton Teddington doing? He said that the story was that he prayed one day and woke up and looked in the saw a formula written in lights on his bedroom wall. He woke his wife up and said, Can you see that, honey? No, go back to sleep, Clayton. No, this is important. You got to write this down. And so he dictated it to her. And the next day, they woke up and they did the formula and made soap. And the neutralizer was a part of that soap, or the alkaline solution. What was that? What did he do? And does that have anything to do with David Koss's spinning our coffee, spinning our water?
Oh boy. Well, I'm familiar with Keaton. He's a hell of a marketing guy. That's for sure. The gel, the way I understood it was the gel was actually a byproduct of the soap. It's kind of like when you make soap, you have glycerin that's left over from the soap. It was basically the byproduct, and then they actually run it through electrical charge, so it gave it a charge. The gel actually held the charge, and I recommend it. I've used it. I've watched a guy get a bit with a snake. It was around the time I met you, rattlesnake, and he took that neutralizing gel and pushed it into the two puncture fang wounds, and he didn't have any problems. It totally neutralized the venom of a rattlesnake bite. It electrically, yes, there is a similar. He's done something to it, and there again, I don't know exactly. I have talked to people that have analyzed his products. There again, he doesn't really say exactly what's in it. He uses some pretty good marketing words to basically get around telling you what's in it, really. And that's his deal. That's his formula. I know it works. I use his Miracle 2 soap. I carry the gel with me. It's in pretty much every traveling machine that we ride around with, just because every medicine chest should have some, because it does work. I have met some people, though, that have taken it internally and have harmed themselves. Long-term ingestion of that stuff is not that good. Our friend Stan used to take shots of it every day, and it's really hard on the liver. It's a soap, for God's sake. We're not really designed to ingest soap or soap products.
Not the neutralizer. That's just alkaline water, I think, with electrical charge added to it. I can see no.
Oh, I get. Oh, yeah, okay.
The soap is the alkaline. It's the neutralizer. The neutralizer is like the base of the soap. I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
And then they add the soap to the neutralizer, and you've got neutralized soap.
Right. Well, some people have expressed benefit of taking it. I'm just, when you try to alkalize through your mouth orally, no matter what you're taking, if you're eating bushels of avocados, or if you're drinking alkalized water or whatever, just the electrical, biological science of it, from the aspect that I come from, just the sustainability is not there. I've seen people, yes, in the short term it works, fabulous advantages. So I'm not knocking that. It's just the long-term ingestion of high alkaline stuff eventually causes a problem. But in the short term, I have no problem with it. So, I mean, that's a whole other conversation, Clay. But I use it externally, the neutralizing gel. Externally, the stuff is fantastic. It has benefits. So I've never really got into using it internally, so I can't really talk about it that way. But externally, the stuff neutralizes skunk spray, snake venom, spider venom, recluse venom. It will neutralize almost instantaneously. So the medicinal value of it is fantastic in that regard.
And the soap does a good job of cleaning. I mean, I probably I bathed with the soap and washed my clothes in it for years. Until
Yeah, I do too.
until Clayton died, and when he died, then suddenly they it didn't work. It didn't feel the same, so I don't use it much anymore.
I often wondered about that. It smells kind of like Dawn dish soap.
Well, he was spiritually moved. Let's talk about your book. Let's tell people how they can get it. I mean, it's up on my website. It's in every magazine that I put out. And folks, I really recommend you get my magazine. And the magazine is a PDF, and that will link to Will's site. The links are on there. Matter of fact, I'm glad I thought about it. I'm just redoing and updating the libertyvillage.org, and your book and your products have to be a part of that village. I mean, Liberty Village is designed to be a place where you can go eat natural food, get the minerals that you need, and get the information that you need to keep you healthy. That's what I envision Liberty Village as being. You know, with low-cost structures that we can heat and power with a juice box solar generator. You can certainly charge your computer up. You can run a string of lights. You can light up a teepee with a juice box generator. And if you're growing food, not grass, it doesn't matter whether you do it in your backyard, in your neighborhood. If you can do a whole Liberty Village in one square block in the middle of Dallas. And the guest that I just had on a few days ago, Melinda Pillsbury Foster, has she's working with me. She's helped me start a new site, one that won't be blocked, one that won't be blocked by the abusive host blacklist.org, and she's put me together with some other people that are trying to make a difference. So things are happening. Things are coming along, and it's you know, this is really a movement. It's how to be healthy. How to be, and if you're healthy, guess what? You're happy too. You can lose the fear. There ain't no reason to be afraid. Somebody told me one time years ago, and it's always stuck with me, that they just don't have the power they want you to believe they have. And, you know, if they did, we'd still be under the Roman Empire. So we can be healthy, we can be happy, and you're a major force in that, Will Spencer.
I
And
consider myself a contributing factor to health on the planet on all different levels, not just in your body. But we have created stuff for the honeybees. We have created stuff for the soil to remediate the Roundup and chemical damage and the chemtrail damage, and to actually you can grow food using soil inoculants or Vibrant Earth Kit. That's actually 300 times more medicinal value to it just by adding our stuff to the soil that you grow your food in, or your aquaponics or your hydroponic system. It raises the bricks readings 300-fold. That's nutritional value increase. That's huge. So yeah, we're working on several different levels. Farm animals, as well as, you know, domestic, like Dave was just saying, is dogs, cats, people. So yeah.
now, I have just put up. I just found. For a little while they were. I had lost their link. Their website wasn't working, but it's working now. It's pure effect water filters. Now, it takes the fluoride out of the water, takes the chlorine out of the water, and it's also taking out radioactive materials. They've got something in this, and I've just added this back to my website. I added it back to libertyvillages.com. What about the water? I mean, now for a number of years here, I've drank nothing but reverse osmosis water. I'm in a position now that they are actually in the little town that I'm in, Seadrift, Texas, Adrift and Seadrift. The water is purified by reverse osmosis in the city. So they're not using the fluoride. So I'm able to make my coffee out of the tap. But what about this filter in the water? This Pure Effects filters are a little bit better than the Berkeys, and I got this and got on as a affiliate with them, so I could bring it to you and send you straight to their site. Is filtering our water, especially with Fukushima now, and frankly, in the film, my film, True Face of FEMA, they talk about if we have a earthquake of sufficient magnitude along the New Madrid fault line, we could, we'll need 400,000 well-armed, well-trained, organized, disciplined troops to control the American people. Or if we have a single outbreak of smallpox in a major metropolitan area, we'll need 400,000 well-armed, well-trained, organized, disciplined troops to control the American people, because some of them just won't follow orders. I said, you're damn right we won't follow orders. You want us to line up on a Kmart parking lot or Walmart parking lot to get a vaccine for a disease that's been eradicated in this country for 100 years? And I thought of the whole New Madrid fault line. If we had an earthquake on there, the Mississippi could turn into a inland sea, and it would. We have so many power plants along that New Madrid fault line, atomic power plants, that we'd make Fukushima look like a safe place to be. But is the radiation is showing up in our water supply, in those clouds that are blowing across from the water that evaporates off of the Fukushima? We're getting radiation here. Is this filtering system that I've got, and it's featured, you can go to my website and check on it and read on it and check it out. Is that something we need to think about? Is that something we need to do to ensure that our water supply, at least maybe if they're spraying tons of aluminum in these chemtrails, that's falling to the ground. What's that doing to our health?
Well, filtration of the water is important. It doesn't matter if you're having fluoride in municipal water or you're out in the country and you got aluminum, hexane, butane, and all these other radioactive elements, for sure. We're picking that up every. There's more radiation in this country than there's Fukushima. Fukushima is just a smokescreen with the reality of all the leaks that are taking place on this continent, like Nebraska, like Illinois, like Louisiana, like Pennsylvania. Anyhow, filtration of the water is utmost important. And then once you filter out the stuff, I recommend putting in our sea salt into the water, a pinch anyhow, to remineralize, because electrolytes are salts. And we definitely need the minerals, the salts, the electrolytes in our water in our body, and when you filter things, you need to put things back in. So then our body recognizes them as hydration rather than just. So here's a little test, real simple. Take 16 ounces of water on an empty. Drink it all. Look at your clock, and then see how long it is before you go to the bathroom. If you're going to the bathroom in less than 20 minutes, that water went from your stomach to your bladder. It didn't hydrate you. That's a very simple test. If you drank it and it didn't, on an empty stomach, and you aren't going to the bathroom, that means your body is using it as food and processing it properly, so it's benefiting you. It's a very simple, at-home, cost-free test to find out if the water that you're using is really hydrating you or if it's just running through you.
All right, I appreciate that tip. Like you said, I eat the salt like candy, man. I mean, it's I put a little bit on my thumb, and it just tastes wonderful. And that's giving me the chloride, the magnesium, the calcium, the strontium, the selenium, the manganese, and I've also taken these photogenic plant minerals, and that's giving me the potassium that I need. When I ride the motorcycle, if I don't have some potassium, and I don't eat that many bananas, so I get cramps. Now I don't. All right, we're out of time here. Widow Spencer, thank you for being with me, and I appreciate everything that you're doing, and we'll keep you. We'll see that the ad for your book and the connection for your website is up on the Liberty Villages. I'll fix that today. We got new sites up there. We got the magazines out there. I'm working on the January 1st issue. So, and that means you've got about 8. Or this, we're working on issue number 9 right now. God bless you all. We're out of time. Thanks again. Will Spencer, bodyelectrician.com. Thanks. Bye-bye.
We're off the air. Thanks a lot. Great. I got to set up for Tracy's because